as it should. All is well and unfolding as it should. We'll take a minute to greet a neighbor out there, give a smile, fist bump, elbow bump, something like that. And if you're out on social media,
a little wink.
Say hello, let us know where you're from. Time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. 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 My soul is welcome here.
Oh boy, the band is back. Thank you. And welcome. And thank you. Thank you for being here on this lovely morning. We're so pleased to be gathering again. And those of you who are watching us on a screen and not in this room, you're welcome too. We join each other on a brilliant, nearly fall Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning still in some places, to come together on purpose and be in love, in contentment, and inside spirit. All is well. You are well, I am well, and despite sometimes external contrary appearances, we know to go within, to go to center, and there we find eternal peace. Thank you for joining us in this. And so it is.
And so it is.
Loving Spirit dwells in me. This is my divinity. As within, so without. All I need is here and now. loving Spirit dwells in me now and evermore. I am whole. 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 Let's sing, I am whole. 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 All I need resides in me. All I need resides in me. All I need resides in me. All I need. All I need resides in me. All I need resides in me. I am whole. 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 All I need. All I need resides in me. 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 I am whole. I am whole. I am whole. I am whole. Thank you. We just never know when to clap because it's so deep that it's like, do we clap? I know the meditative things, it's like, so good. It's so good. So welcome again. Glad you're here.
this is the beginning of a new month. It's shocking already. We're in September, and our weather here in the Pacific Northwest is letting us know that's true. And the theme for this month is a hidden wholeness. And I'm excited about it because it's from one of my new best friends, Parker Palmer. He's not really my new best friend. I wish he was. So he has a quote that I used for the minister's message this month that I wanted to read you because it has to do with what I'm going to be speaking about. And it's actually from his book, A Hidden Wholeness. The soul is like a wild animal, tough, resilient, savvy, self-sufficient, and yet exceedingly shy. If we want to see a wild animal, the last thing we should do is to go crashing through the woods, shouting for the creature to come out. But if we are willing to walk quietly into the woods and sit silently for an hour or two at the base of a tree, the creature we are waiting for may well emerge, and out of the corner of an eye, we will catch a glimpse of the precious wildness we seek. So in a very real way today, I want to talk about your wildness. This will be fun, right? But I also want to talk about the dilemma about that wildness, the wildness of your soul. The title of this talk is called The Undivided Life. And the reason I chose that is because for me, and I imagine for many of you, trying to live from the deepest place of my nature, from my truest truth, from the being in human being, has proven to be more difficult than it would at first seem. And part of what makes it difficult is that there's a lot going on all the time now. You may have noticed. In the outer world, there's a lot going on. And in the internal dialogue, there's a lot going on. And that often makes it more difficult to understand how to live from the deepest, truest, true beingness of self. And so Parker's quote about the soul being like a wild animal has been my experience as well, is that there is a way to be with myself, there's a way to be with yourself that can invite the wild beingness that you are to show itself and show up. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the dilemma and also the practice that would allow that to happen. So the dilemma is twofold, at least. So I wanted to talk about the first dilemma of a divided life. And that would be the tragic gap that all of us are aware of in the outer world with all of the societal issues and the global issues that we face. For example, for years and years, decades, long time, the scientists have said, there's plenty of food for everyone on the planet. Even with the increased population, there's plenty of food for everybody. But there's still people starving. A tragic gap. And we could go into the wheres and the whys and who's to blame and whose fault that is. But the fact of the matter is that every societal issue is kind of like that there's more than enough wisdom, there's more than enough of whatever we need to heal many of the societal problems that we're facing. But somehow it doesn't quite get done. And so as I was thinking about that, I was thinking about that old saying that's attributed to indigenous people who are said to have lived their lives with an awareness of 7 generations in the future. You've heard that one, right? And, part of that is a deep wisdom when in pre-technological times, you knew that you needed to live in such a way that your people would be sustained in the future. we've sort of lost that a little bit. Not all of us, but that's the tragic gap, is there's a forgetfulness or a lack of awareness that keeps us from entirely solving. And so I was thinking about that, and I was reading some books. That one of them I've mentioned before. It's a book called Hope Matters. It's a really great book about climate change and how when people are faced with the dire realities of what we're facing, often what happens is a trauma response. And the trauma response is often either fleeing or freezing or getting really, really angry. Anybody? And so this scientist's approach to teaching about climate change and how to work with it has been to begin to let people know that actually there's a lot going on that people are doing already that is helping. That it's not all doom and gloom and we're all just going to die, that people are diligently all over the globe working on solutions and how to heal it. The same is true with poverty. The same is true with racism. The same is true with everything. There are people everywhere that are working in their corner of their world to shift things. And one of the things that I was reading about, not in that book, but another one, was the problem for many of us in our culture is that we've become accustomed to having instantaneous solutions, which is fabulous if you think about it. It's so much can be solved in, if not a day, several days, and then we're done. We solved it. So these are not those kind of issues. And one of the things to hold for me, and I'm offering this to you as kind of a gifted wisdom that I received, is to understand that this is a multi-generational solution that we're looking for. And that if this generation doesn't work to heal what they can, it slows the other ones down. So as a grandmother, I'm like, oh no, I'm doing everything I can. I'm doing everything I can so that my little grandkids who are going to be working with this very issue in their lives have a boost up, They don't have to start from back before me. Do you follow me? So this kind of issue can make us feel very divided from other people who we judge as being, I'll just put it the way I think of it sometimes. I really am not proud of this, but every once in a while I'm just like, they are just so stupid. Don't they get it? And of course, no, at some level, there's not an awareness. So that doesn't work, right? But that divides me from my deepest knowing of how to work with situations and people to be calling people out and be judging them. Have you ever found that to be effective when people do that to you? Don't you want to resist mightily whenever anybody judges you and criticizes you? Of course you do, right? I'm not the only one in this room or, in our virtual land. So that divide is one thing to pay attention to, the divide that keeps us from moving forward in ways we can with the societal issues that we face. And to work with those divides from our deepest, truest truth is challenging, but such a great practice. And so that's one. And the second one that I wanted to talk to you about is more on the personal level of what to do about the dilemmas, the paradoxes, the difficulties that you and I face in trying to live an undivided life while doing things that don't exactly fit with our truest truths. The most obvious thing I could speak to is, I've met so many people who are working and really hating their jobs. Anybody know anybody like that? A lot of people. It's amazing how many people are working for the dollar, for the money, because they need the money, but they really don't like what they're doing, and in some cases are really embarrassed by what they're doing because it doesn't fit with their values at all. And that's one example of living divided at a more personal level. Is like, are you, am I, living in such a way that our deepest, truest truth is expressing fully through everything that we're doing? I can't say yes. Can you? I mean, I can say yes. I'm very fortunate because you like me enough to keep paying me to do this job, which I love. I love my job. So I'm very fortunate. But there are ways that I'm living that don't match my truest truth in small ways and not in big ways. Because I am fortunate to be on the spiritual path and get to talk about it all the time, I am called over and over again to live a life of integrity. But there are small ways that that integrity gets broken for me and probably for you. And while I can't name what would be true for you, things come up to me, like standing in a grocery aisle. You know, I have a real thing about helping with climate change. That's part of my truest true. And so I've done a lot to shift how I consume. And there are still times when I pick something up that's completely encased in plastic and unrecyclable plastic at that. Did you know that anything past number 2 is not really recyclable? They'll tell you it is. It's not. So I'll wrestle. I'll stand there in the aisle wrestling the divided life. It's like if I was living from the truest truth, I would be like, well, I'd really love to have that, but I just can't. And then I would write a letter to the company saying, gosh, I would have really loved to have your product, but I can't buy it when it's in that, because that is absolutely against all of my truest true self. I don't write that letter, do you? So maybe now I'll have to. So in the individual lives we live, this kind of tension between our truest, deepest knowing, our wisdom self, our true nature, and what's happening in our outer world is really a creative tension. And so, unlike the tragic gaps that we see in society, and we can do what we can with that, understanding that we're looking at a very long unfolding process, in our individual lives, it's much shorter. We have the capacity to have some power in the relationship we have with ourselves. And so that wrestle, that paradox, that tension that we feel sometimes is between powerfulness in living from our truth and powerlessness from living from our truth. And we wrestle. I'm not the only one. You know, we wrestle with small things and even sometimes larger things about how to live with integrity and still enjoy our lives. You know, how do we do that in this culture? So I was reminded of a story. It's actually kind of one of those universal stories, but I chose this one because I haven't told it to you. I've told some of the other ones. This one comes from the 4th century BCE. We used to call it BC, before Christ, but now we're much more illumined, and we mean before the Common Era. So the 4th century BC, there was a very, very renowned and profound Taoist master named Chuang Tzu. And he wrote the book of Chuang Tzu. And in there, he tells the story of a wood carver, a renowned, incredible artist who became known throughout the world that he was inhabiting for these amazing carvings that he would produce out of different kinds of wood. And so one day someone said, well, your art, your work is so different than most wood carvers. It is such a piece of artwork. It's so incredibly, amazingly beautiful. How do you do that? And the wood carver said, well, I'll give you an example. Recently, a prince of a kingdom near here commissioned me to create a piece for him out of a particular type of wood. And so I agreed to that. And what that means for me is that I now go into a deep state of meditation. And I remove myself from the outer world, sometimes for many days at a time. And what I am seeking is the internal release from notions of profit and loss, notions of success and failure. What I'm seeking is simply to be, so that as I encounter the being of the wood, my being and the being of the wood are one. And that's how I do my work. And actually, that's how we can do our work to begin to heal any divides that we have. It doesn't mean that we have to completely check out of our life for days on end and necessarily. But the challenge for us is that the truest true self of our being, the hidden wholeness, the place where in the science of mind philosophy we believe we are at one with spirit that dwells within all things. That place is easily layered over multiple times with different things, both internal dialogues and external experiences. And it gets so layered up that the truth of who we are is difficult to encounter without some serious practice. Which is why all the wisdom teachings offer different spiritual practices. Why? Because really it's kind of like paint thinner, you know? Spiritual practices, you rub it on yourself, your soul, and it starts to strip away some of the layering so that you can get deep down into what's really what's really the truth, the beingness of your sacred human beingness. And so practices are talked about, and I know I talk about it a lot, because as I've grown on the spiritual path, I've realized that we need that kind of, I'll use another metaphor, that kind of peeling away to be happening quite often so that we can be in touch with that wild soul of ours, that wildness that knows who it is and what it is and how to be. And so that we can allow that deep self to have some house room in our outer world, in our outer life. Why is that important? Well, for me, one of the reasons it's important is the more I do that, the more authentic I become. And the more authentic I become, the happier I am. Because I'm no longer, Thomas Merton used a phrase a lot. Thomas Merton was an incredible mystical Catholic monk. He said, I no longer am willing to live a life of self-impersonation. Which is what happens when we layer up like that, is we think we need to look like that or this or have this amount in the bank or do this kind of job, even though it's a job, that we don't really want to do. We do that kind of thing, and that's self-impersonation. So the more we strip away with spiritual practice to get to that wild self, that truest true, the more we can allow it to express, and the happier, the more joyous, and the more wildness we can bring into the world. So that's the second point for me is, we're not going to change if we don't change, right? I mean, it sounds so obvious, but that means you change, and you change, and you change, and I change, and you change. We all change. What do we change? We change self-impersonation. We begin to be our truest self, and we begin to speak from that place, and live from that place, and love from that place. And the more we do that, the more life begins to shift. That's why we don't do it, is all of us as sacred humans are a little terrified of change. Too bad, so sad. Happens anyway, have you noticed? And so letting go of the worry that change will change us and change our outer world, and just allowing the expression to happen, wow, the world begins to to turn in different ways. We open up to different awarenesses and wisdoms, and we are able to bring the truest true of ourselves out into the world, which the world needs. The world needs us. It needs everyone to do that. And so the more of us that are willing to do that kind of work, the more our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren will thank us and not curse us for being oblivious or unaware. Truly. And if you don't have children, you can borrow mine. Live for them. So before I close, let me just run through just a little bit of what spiritual practice actually might look like. So in the pre-show, for those of you who are here, yes, we're doing a pre-show, at least for a little while. I was telling you about one of my daughters who was living away from her true self because her spiritual practice is dance. And because of COVID, she wasn't able to go do that in a group, and yet that's where the expression was most powerful. So after being vaccinated and really wrestling, holding that paradox, holding that creative tension of how safe is it to go to a dance studio and how much do I need it for my spiritual health, she decided to go begin to dance again. It was not an easy choice. It was simply a weighing of the paradox and choosing the spiritual practice, because that was what she could tell in her life was missing, was needed. So your spiritual practice, whatever it is going to kind of be like that. There's going to be a little creative tension, perhaps. I've had it for years and years. I get up early in the morning, and so does my partner. And my wrestle is always, do I meditate and miss this precious time before we both go to work? He goes to work earlier than I do. Do I meditate and kind of go within and miss that time? That's my wrestle, the paradox, the difficulty, the creative struggle. And for a long time, I said, no, I don't want to miss that. I don't want to miss that time. I don't have very much time with this guy. And I'm getting older, and he is too, you know. But lately, what I've realized is, that is true, and this is true. Just like my daughter, that is true, and this is true. And I need the spiritual practice. I need the paint thinner to strip the layers away. Because I don't know about you, but what we're living through right now is absolutely intensely off-centering for me. I get out of balance, bam, just like that. I hear a story and I'm off balance. And that doesn't feel good. I've spent my whole life on the spiritual path trying to find balance and live from that place, right? So I realized, okay, yeah, I love my spouse, and to be balanced for him as well as for me and for everyone, I have to spend that time. So what's your wrestle? What's your creative, paradoxical, this and that, not either or, but and both? What is it? And can you ask yourself, am I living in integrity with the wildness of my truest true self? Am I allowing that to express? And if the answer is in some way you could be doing better, because you already are. You're sitting here on Labor Day weekend. Come on. You're doing great. But if there's anywhere where that struggle has kept you from maybe doing what your spiritual self knows would be really good, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to be the wood carver in your life. So I'll do a prayer for that, because these wrestles, Rilke said at one point, he was asked, I have these big questions and I can't find the answers. And Rilke said to that young student, you have to be willing to live within the questions themselves. So that's what I'm talking about here, is live in the question and remember that your wild soul thrives when it's allowed to express. So here's the prayer. All you have to do is say yes and mean it. So Here and now, in this moment, I bring myself to the remembrance that there truly is a deep, abiding presence, call it what we will, that indwells all reality, the things that we call animate and the things that we call inanimate, and everything else. It's all inhabited by this presence, this spirit of life itself, energy unfolding. And that means that for you and for me, that presence is flowing deeply, profoundly, always within us, through us, as us. We're not left out. We're part of that energized expression. And so I remember that, and I remind myself that because of that and the tremendous gift that that is, I can choose to live in ways that are of the highest integrity with my truest true self. And so I do that. I choose that over and over again. And anytime I come to a place where there's a paradox or a creative wrestle, I recognized how blessed I am to have choice. And I move with the highest knowing that I have at the time, to live from the deepest integrity that I know, always open to being shown new ways of living that open me even further to being my truest self in this world, to speaking from it, living from it, acting from it, sharing from it. Because I know not only will this allow me to live clean and joyfully in this very troubled world we're in right now, but that I actually will be of help, assistance, that I will bring the light that I am and shine it in ways that will help. And I'm grateful for that opportunity too. So I let this prayer sink deep, soak in to the multi-layered things that I've put in the way, stripping them away so that the wild self peeks out and says, alrighty, sure, I'll show up. And I'm grateful for that too. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to invite the ushers to prepare for the offertory, and you too. And we're going to have some wonderful music while that's going on. So enjoy.
Today and every day I'm gonna dwell upon the good. Today and every day I'm gonna dwell upon the light. Today and every day I'm gonna dwell upon the peace. Today I'm finding gratitude for all that's right. What we dwell upon, we become. What we dwell upon, we become. What we dwell upon, we become. So let's dwell upon the good. Today and every day I'm gonna dwell upon the love. Today and every day I'm gonna dwell upon the grace. Today and every day I'm gonna dwell upon the joy. Today I'm seeing God in each and every face. What we dwell upon, we become. What we dwell upon, we become. What we dwell upon, we become. So let's dwell upon the good. What we dwell upon, we become. What we dwell upon, we become. What we dwell upon. eyes dwell upon the good.
So it wouldn't be a service without announcements, right? Yeah. So for those of you who are new, I wanted to remind you, those of you who are not new, as well as those of you who are new, that in the back here on this side, there's a table, and on one side are prayer request forms and a prayer jar that you can put those forms in. And what is that? In our tradition, one of the spiritual practices we do a lot is spiritual mind treatment, is what it used to be called. We now call it affirmative prayer. And we do that for people as well as for ourselves. And we have a whole group of practitioners who are very skilled at that. They've taken a lot of training in that. In fact, I wanted to welcome one of our new practitioners here, Michael. Hi, Michael. Raise your hand. There he is. And all of you practitioners who are here today, raise your hand. Yes, lots and lots of them. Apparently, they like this side of the room. So they're in service to our community, both virtually as well as in person. And so if you're a virtual person, you can request online. And if you're an in-person person, you can fill out one of those forms, and they will take it and work with that for you. In addition, on that table on the other side are friendship packets, which are full of information about what is the science of mind philosophy, and some other wonderful information about, what we're doing. And I think there's a magazine in there. We have a monthly magazine called the Science of Mind magazine that's in there as well. So feel free to pick one of those up if you would like. Now, a couple of things that are happening. We're having a transformational class that's going to begin on September 22nd. It's going to be held on Wednesday evenings for 8 weeks, and it's called the Foundations class. And what it is it's a real training in the basic ideas of the science of mind. One of the things that I've always loved about this tradition is that we don't ask you to park your brains in the parking lot before you come in. And so what we want is for people to understand what we're talking about, not to indoctrinate them, but to give them the tools that we all have found so very valuable, understandings of that are quite different actually than many traditions in terms of, we don't think that God is somewhere else, that kind of idea. So it's really a great class. It's being taught by Zena Kacha, one of our licensed practitioners and soon to be the assistant minister for our community. So you're invited to come. All of our happenings now are hybrid, almost without exception. There are a few that we just can't, like Soul Collage, I can't figure out how to do that in other ways than in person. So this class is going to be hybrid. And what hybrid means is that we have invested as a community in technology that will allow people that would like to come in on Zoom to be with people who would like to be in person and to share a class that way. So transformational class of Foundations is going to be a hybrid class. The men's circle, the men's group, is meeting next Sunday at noon. It also is going to be hybrid. And so if you would like to be in person, then you'll come here and you'll have the in-person experience. But if you feel safer, or perhaps you're far away and would still like to come, like those of you listening, if you would like to come and be part of the men's group, you can do that through the hybrid technology we have in Zoom. The same is true with our women's circle. Now, the women's circle has shifted. Change is good. And so we have some new leaders of that group, and we've moved the women's circle to Sundays after services on the third Sunday of every month from from September to May. And so our first one is coming up on the 19th. And it's a hybrid. So if you're far away or you don't feel safe, you can come in through Zoom. And I can guarantee that there are going to be some of us here in person. So that's how we're doing things. And I think it's really incredible. And I'm so grateful for your donations because they allowed us to invest in things like that and make it happen. So thank you very much. We also, next Sunday, the 12th, after men's group, here in person, many of us are going to show up at Peace Health St. Joseph's Hospital. we heard a number of weeks ago that there had been a protest there, um, protesting wearing masks. And, how unfortunate. Here are these people that are, have dedicated their lives for 2 years to assisting, and just overwhelmed and so tired. And this protest happened, and it just was the last straw for many of them. It was just so demoralizing. So we heard about that. And one of our slogans here is "Let love be our legacy." And so from time to time, we activate that and we move as a group of people and offer love in some fashion. So we're going to the hospital. We're going to be standing outside the employee entrance at 3:00. The shift changes at 3:15, so the people coming out and the people going in are going to be able to get a taste of the love we have to offer. And the employees' entrance, if you're facing the hospital, is to the left of the cafeteria. So you'll see a bunch of us there. We're bringing our banner. I'm inviting you to write a note to the staff. And what they've been doing with these notes, which was brilliant, is they've been photocopying them and plastering them all over the walls of the hospital in all the units so that the staff, from the cooks to the ICU staff, can see them. And I just think it's an incredible thing we could do to let those people who have really come to the edge know that we're there and that we'll hold on to their white coats so they don't fall off. Okay? So I'd love you to join me next week. And let's see what else we have here. Oh, the greening with integrity. I was very, very honored to be asked to be one of the keynote speakers on this panel. It's part of the City of Bellingham's All In for Climate Action Week at the end of September. And we were going to do it here in person, but no, there's been too many breakthrough experiences of the virus. And so we're shifting this event to a Zoom event. And that means it'll be even easier for all of us to actually see one another and see what the panel brings in terms of their PowerPoints and their videos and all that. I'm joined by Emily Kubiak, who was married out on our wedding patio a number of years ago and happens to be someone that we've worked closely with for turning our center into a much more green center. She was one of the helpers. She works for Sustainable Connections. And Mark Schofield, who is part of he manages the Community Energy Challenge and works with the Opportunity Council in helping people with low income or no income find ways to green their lives. It's a wonderful panel. It's happening on September 24th. It's Friday at 6:30 to 8:00. We have our time slots. We promise we'll be done by 8, and we hope you'll come. So that's that. Don't forget that our wonderful practitioner staff is also offering morning prayers, 7 a.m. Monday through Friday on Zoom, and that they also are offering gratitudes at 8:45 at night, Monday through Friday. All of the Zoom links that you would need are available on the homepage of the CSL Bellingham website. And so you can go there and find the men's group or the women's circle or morning prayers or whatever you need. And if for some reason you can't access it, please feel free to reach out to the office and we will make sure you get that link. Except don't reach out to us tomorrow because we're closed. Okay, so why don't we take one more stab at enjoying this incredible music that's here today. And I don't know what you're singing, but should they stand?
Sure.
Stand up. Let's sing. All right.
Feel the power of love inside me. Feel the power of love. I can see the evidence around me. We are the power of love. And my eyes are open to the truth I now embrace. And my heart is open by spirit and by grace. I can feel the power of love inside me. Feel the power of love. wonderful week. We'll see you again.